In this lesson, we're going to look at how to do conditional logic and comparisons in Python. So Python, like most procedural languages, has an if statement. If takes a condition. So I can say if true, true with a capital T is a keyword in Python. I can say print yes, and otherwise you use an else, print no. And of course this is going to print yes. So there's a few important things to note here. One is that after your condition you use a colon. Colons in Python signify a new block. And so after a colon you have to start a new block. And the way you do that in Python, instead of using a squiggly brace like you would in C or Java, for example, you use indentation. So I've got a tab here, and that tells Python that this is part of the block started by this if. And then because the else doesn't have a tab, Python knows that that block has ended. So Python uses indentation to signify block structure, which is pretty unusual amongst procedural languages. So it's something that new Python programmers always are a little bit surprised by, but it works very well, and it makes the code very readable because you just have less syntax to get in the way. Now let's look at how to do conditionals. So let's make a variable, let's say x equal to 5. Now I want to say, instead of if true, I'm going to compare x. So I'm going to say if x less than 5, so the left angle bracket is the less than operator. I'm going to print less than 5. And now in the original example we had an if and an else, but you can actually hook together a whole bunch of different conditions using what are called elifs, which stands for else if. So I can say elif, and then you give it another condition. So I could say x equal 5. I could print equal to 5. And then else I'm going to print greater than 5. Alright, so a few things to look at here. One is that we used two equal signs here when we're trying to compare x to a value. Now if you remember from an earlier lesson, the single equals sign is the assignment operator. So this operator says, hey, the value on the right is going to be assigned to the identifier on the left. The double equals operator is the equality comparison operator. So this expression is going to return a Boolean truth value depending on whether or not the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. And then of course we've expanded our if-else to have an elif. So we say if condition, and then from here on out we can have any number of elif blocks with different conditions, and then optionally we could have a catch-all else block that will execute if none of the conditions of the ifs or the elifs were true. So in this case, of course, our elif is the block that executed because x is equal to 5.